Coming up, Big Pharma trying to take control, my observation of Apocalypto, and Biden doesn't know what he's doing again and again. And a racist do a commercial together. But first, honor first, coffee second. Welcome to The Rift. I'm your host, Cal Brennan. Let's get into the first story. So Big Pharma is now in control. So drug companies, they want to control our children. Well, I have news for them. As long as my children are still my children, they will not be taking any of the mRNA vaccines, period. Folks, you know my stance on these type of vaccines. They weren't tested properly or even had an appropriate clinical trial. And there was improper filings in the initial VAERS reports. Oh, and I was kicked out of the Air Force over the COVID vaccine, which is not a vaccine, it's just a shot. The CDC even re-engineered the definition of vaccine for that specific purpose. Now, last week, we just had these high caliber doctors from the CDC that voted 15 to 0 to put COVID vaccines on the inoculation rolls all over the country. These people are not on your side. They are bought and paid for by Big Pharma. And there is no reasoning with these people at all. Look, if you think it works or it doesn't is one thing, but the efficacy rate in some studies on children has been shown to be less than 17% effective. Their own immunity system is doing a better job, okay? That's what it's saying. So the choice is yours to believe these people or not. But just know that the kickbacks they get from Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca are worth probably more than your yearly salary. Sometimes maybe even more than your home. Meaning these doctors who believe in the vaccine and you trust are making money from dispensing these drugs. And I don't believe nowadays, maybe you do, they have the best intentions for you or your family. And that's my take on that. So now let me move on. I really want to get into this because this was really interesting to me about Apocalypto. So this morning, something came to me. It was like an epiphany while watching the movie Apocalypto. And don't ask me why I was watching it at 6 a.m. in the morning. It's just, I just was watching it. The film was released in 2006, and it was made by Mel Gibson. I believe there's an analogy that translates into this story about Hollywood. Now stay with me on this, okay? Stay with me. And I want to do a disclaimer here. So now I have never spoken to Mel Gibson or read any reviews where there could be an analogy to these points. This is my own perspective, no one else's. And I didn't even see the movie when it was initially first released. I saw it a few years later, okay? So this is a story based upon with a young man named Jaguar Paw. He was thrown into an incredible situation one morning. And it takes place in the Mayan area and stuff like that, Mayan Aztec area. It takes him on a journey to a world ruled by fear and oppression. Fear and oppression. And then that's when it hit me. I'm seeing a comparison here to Hollywood. You think about the people, I mean, Harvey Weinstein, his casting couch, big money contracts that go through there. It's not just one man, okay, like Harvey. I mean, there's studios involved, being in the know with the right people. So fear rules. Canceling a contract or that they can cut you out of the business altogether. I mean, think about this. And also, to jump back to Apocalypto and this, did I mention that, they use a lot of situations with knives, like, they really do in this. So, cutthroat, so to speak. It really reminds me of Mel Gibson in his younger years, going to Hollywood for the first time. Okay. I mean, he's fresh off Mad Max and really seeing what the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, is really like. So in the story, back to the movie. So in the story, Jaguar Paw saves his wife and little boy by putting them in this cavern. Okay. The bad guys come around. They didn't see there was a dead body basically from one of their tribe when they tried to raid their village, raid Jaguar Paw's village. So they went over he went over after the melee. He went over to take a look at this dead soldier, and then he saw the cavern, and then he saw a rope, but he didn't think there was anything down. But he went ahead and threw a rock just to make sure that there wasn't, and then he went ahead and cut the rope. Well, when he cut this rope, his wife and his child had no way of grappling back up to safety. So the initial premise for Paul, he must return to the village to save his family. He doesn't want to forsake them. But there were some, and I'm just going to give you one example, okay? There were some that went to Hollywood in this analogy and lost their way. You remember Paul Hogan, the another shrimp on the bobby, or better known as Crocodile Mick Dundee. This guy. I believe he went to Hollywood. I believe he was corrupted. He left his wife and 7 children down under. He stayed in California for a number of years. I believe he was enthralled by the bright lights in the big city. He probably would have said it was by a woman, or maybe a Sheila, right? But I believe it was the cabal of Hollywood that got a hold of him. So, anyways, it's another Australian. Anyways, back to the movie. The people that survived this raid, okay, on Jaguar Paw's village, were mostly males. They were tied on these poles and put into slavery for the trek back home. Okay. As you follow their travels, because it goes on throughout the story, as you follow them, they travel to this it's like a mega city, okay, with like giant Mayan like temples, okay, and I mean it's huge, and I think about this in the terms of Mel Gibson, right? So he's a young star, in Australia, but yet he's traveling for the first time to America. So there's a correlation there, okay? And I mean, I really do believe that is a connection there that he has. So when they arrive, okay, they have rocks and stones thrown at them, and they are painted light blue. Don't know if Mel had anything to do or something against Paramount, but this painting, I think it has a meaning. So when you see MGM, you think of the lion, you think of the gold. Paramount, the mountain light blue Aztec temple, mountain correlation, maybe. Fox, the movie lights spinning around and the red background. Universal has its globe and the big letters that say Universal out in front of the globe. And then Columbia statue is the goddess with the torch there. So I mean the biggest one what I think is this means is like when you sign contracts with these studios, you become part of this cabal or you become slaves to the studios. Now currently, he's independent. He may have partnered a time or two. I mean, even signed a contract before. I mean, when he was much younger, but he did get out of this. Okay, he gained his freedom, so to speak. Okay, now, now look, those of you that are hung up on the terminology of slavery, get over it. I I'll make the analogies I want to, and you can make the analogies you want to. Just, I mean, that, so what? Okay. Now, I don't want to get too graphic, but these temples, they are like, I mean, up in the higher realm and stuff like they're like slaughtering people. Okay. Again, I don't want to get too graphic, but I mean, it's like they're showing this, they're chopping off heads, they're throwing the carcasses down to the base of the mount. Sacrifice, slavery, debauchery is going on. There's drugs. Folks, it all leads up to EVIL, and that spells evil. Now, the sacrifice, when you think about it or you put it into context, okay, as Hollywood, not by chopping off the head, but the people in Hollywood would sacrifice their souls for their next part, or a huge payoff, or a triple movie deal or something like that. I mean, it happens all the time. Okay, some will rise to stardom, while others are never heard of again. But one thing is for sure: in some situations within this business, there is evil. I mean, again, what I talked about when I initially said this Harvey Weinstein thing. So anyways, back to the movie. Some of his friends are sacrificed at this Temple Mount. Okay, he is scarred with these impressions. Okay, of seeing his friends die. Okay, I'm sure Mel has seen some stuff. He's uncomfortable in telling these stories, or maybe he never even told a soul. So there's that analogy there. But back to the movie. So the tribesman and himself are not sacrificed, but moved on to another basically game of death. Okay, so they are told to run through this field to the cornfield, and if they make it to this cornfield, they're free. They're free to go. Now, they didn't tell them anything about the warriors chucking spears at them on the side over here, okay? So when a couple of his tribesmen go out and try to make it, they're doing these straight line cuts to straight lines, not cuts, straight lines to get to the cornfield. And so basically these spear guys are just timing it out. They're timing it, boom, and they just tag these guys left and right. So a couple of them die, as I said, and then it's Jaguar's turn, okay? But instead of choosing a different way to attack this, he serpentines, as he goes out, 5-10 yards, and then he serpentines to the left and to the right. As he's doing this, the throwers can't get a track to get on him to time that spear, And so he makes it to the cornfield, but the threat isn't over. One who has a vendetta with Jaguar, okay, throughout this whole time, okay, and even the trek to the Temple Mounts and everything like that. This guy is with him and just really giving Jaguar grief. He gets a search party together to go after him, okay, to go after him. Now, I believe when Mel, you can think about this as far as how it correlates to Mel. When Mel made his comments chastising the Hollywood scene, he made an enemy or two that are like how Jaguar did with this guy, okay, and would even carry a vendetta with them, and they wouldn't want to see Mel, progress and succeed, that they wouldn't want that. So in the end, after the movie, in the end, Jaguar survives and saves his family. Well, sort of, with no tribe, and just his immediate family right there, his wife, and now she's had a child, and then a young son. Their trek in life for this at the end will be a most difficult one. Now, back to Mel, knowing that he still wants to be in the movie business. He knows that the path will be challenging, but he still continues to make movies. I mean, he still makes movies to this day, putting out movies. That's my analogy of it. I mean, it just like hit me, this morning. That's my analogy. Leave some comments. Tell me what you think. Because I really believe that Mel, he has written himself into the story of Apocalypto. So tell me what you think about that. All right, let's go on to. I have it here. It's like Biden. What? Yeah. So we could talk a lot on what's happening with Biden. But I want to talk about his actions just over the past few days and over the weekend. He doesn't know where he's going walking off stage. He thinks he signed a bill in which he didn't. And you don't even know what he's saying from time to time. All right, let's talk about the rally in Pittsburgh Thursday. Joe didn't know which way to get off stage. So he finished his speech and then he turns right. And then he goes left, and then he goes right, and then he finally sees the guy motioning for him, and then so he finishes walking over left. Folks, I mean, this is signs of dementia, that you don't know where you're going, or you get lost on simple directions. I mean, it's as simple as that. Then later, Biden was asked why Democrats don't want him to come to campaign with him. Now, this response, I had to decipher this, okay? I mean, I had to look at it 5, 6, 7 times, okay, to find out just what he actually said. But this is his ramblings from best of my knowledge, of transcribing for all these years that I have done. Okay, this is what he said. No, but 16 years. I've already gone 4 years, and a lot more than that. Another 20 or so. So I'm going to be doing it. That's it. I mean, there was no breaks by the reporter in the middle. That's it. I'm going to read it one more time. No, but 16 years, I've already gone 4 years. And a lot more than that. Another 20 or so. So I'm going to be doing it. It's incoherent. They're not sentences, okay, that he put together here. Then on Sunday, okay, this is kind of, for him, this is kind of the Pia Resistance. Then on Sunday, he claims the executive order on a student loan forgiveness bill he passed in Congress by 1 or 2 votes, and he recently signed it into law. I mean, he said this. He said this on one of the morning shows where he was being interviewed. Okay? Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how you forgive this man for not knowing the difference between an executive order and a bill that was passed in the House and the Senate. In my experience, okay, now from the Air Force, okay, so now I can speak freely. I could personally tell you one time, okay, I've seen Air Force One and I've seen him come off of Air Force One. I mean, the guy was like shuffling his feet, like he could barely walk. Okay, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I believe we are way past the juncture of the 25th Amendment. I believe we're past it. I believe we're past it on that. All right. So let me get into the last one, and this also just happened in the morning. Okay, so two racists, a racist and a racist, do a commercial together. Okay, well, kind of. So two racists on the opposite end of the spectrum do a commercial together. Why? Because they're both Democrats and they're scared shitless about these elections. All right. Now I'm not in Arizona. So I don't even know why it's showing up on my TV here. But Barack Obama did a commercial for Katie Hobbs. Okay. Now Katie is a known racist. I mean, she is. Okay. She participated in high school in a thing called Slave Day and auctions. And Hobbs also discriminated against an aide who was African American. Now, before you say, no, you're just making things up, that didn't happen. Before you say that, two federal juries, okay, ruled in favor of the assailant, the Hobbs victim. And you know how much she was awarded for this? So there was defamation of character, okay? And there was discrimination, okay? She was awarded $2.75 million in her judgment. And second, okay, this just happened a couple weeks ago. I believe it was the gentleman from Project Veritas. So a black man comes to interview her at a restaurant, and she runs into the bathroom, okay? And I guess she makes a phone call or two, okay? And one of her campaign managers arrives with an AR-15 to take her out of the area. Folks, you can't make this up, okay? I mean, these people are total hypocrites. They are. And then let's get to the final thing, and then there's Barack Hussein Obama, who caused national divide throughout the United States during his time at the White House, okay? But my question would be to him is, why do this for a racist? Who's racist against blacks? What? Why would you do it? I mean, is being the DNC, I mean, is DNC first everything to him? I mean, that's a question that I would ask. Now, I should also note in this commercial, okay, that they ultimately were not together. Okay. Basically, it was Barack speaking most of the way. There was a few photos, and then at the very end, there was a photo of a still of Katie Hobbs, and then it says "Vote for Katie Hobbs" and blah blah blah. You know, I mean, so that's what it was. But Barack Obama was laying it on, if you know what I'm saying. He was laying it on. Okay, thick about, it's good to vote and you should vote for him. It's all right and all this other stuff. So with these examples I've given you, and there on Katie Hobbs, there are many more. You don't have to look too far. And even Google isn't suppressing it, okay? Or their algorithm, they aren't. Does she deserve a second, third? I don't know how many this is a fourth, fifth, sixth. I mean, how many does she deserve that many chances? I mean, she's running against Carrie Lake. You guys out in Arizona, I don't live in Arizona, but I mean, you guys, it's your choice. But I mean, to me, and what they have dug up and what they have found on her, as well as even a couple weeks ago, okay, I believe that she is a racist, so, or has racist tendencies. Personally, I think, remember, these two weren't even together, okay? I mean, Barack Obama, I mean, it's kind of unheard of that he was going to go on campaign for Katie Hobbs, okay? Just until now when it looks like the DNC might get slammed, okay? Nationwide, all right? So, I mean, I watched it. Personally, I think the commercial is garbage. And it's, again, as I said, why would you finally do it? And I said it's like a last-ditch effort for Katie Hobbs. So, I mean, I think that's it. Well, that's it for now. That's the end of this episode of The Rift. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me some comments. And I will see you next time on The Rift.